Welcome. My name is Osea Clark, and I'm here with my Obility colleague, Ryan Osman. As an agency working with several dozen top B2B companies, we're really excited to share a number of the most effective strategies that in-house marketing teams should try as soon as possible. In terms of who we are, Obility is a Portland, Oregon-based digital marketing agency that exclusively works with B2B clientele. We help our clients engage decision makers and influencers and drive pipeline through digital channels. Obility ties all paid and organic campaigns to the buyer cycle and tracks absolutely everything, so we're able to optimize towards the campaigns that are driving opportunities and revenue. We work with clients that have sales cycles ranging from a few weeks to a few years and specialize in ensuring our clients remain visible and relevant throughout their prospect's unique buyer's journey. So these are a few of the companies that Obility works with to drive awareness, engagement, and high-quality leads. So again, we're so happy to be here today to share a few of the strategies that allow Obility's clients to crush B2B industry benchmarks, and appreciate you taking a moment of your busy day to listen in. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to Obility's SEM magician, the man with the plan, the one and only Ryan Osman.
Thanks for that, Osea. Pleasure to be here with everyone. Thanks for joining us here. As he said, my name is Ryan Osman. I don't know if I'm a magician quite yet. I learn something new every day. Got a lot to learn still. But I am an SEM manager here at Obility. I handle a handful of our pay-per-click accounts. But beyond that, I definitely, I like to consider myself an entrepreneur as well. I'm a webmaster myself. I have a few of my own websites that I've been able to monetize. So with that, I definitely consider myself a T-shaped marketer, and what I mean by that is that I definitely excel, and my expertise is in PPC, in paid ads. But I like to think, I'm skilled in many other fields in digital marketing as well, whether that be landing page optimization, organic SEO strategies, general copy, email marketing, you name it. I have a passion for it, and I've probably done a little bit of it. So hopefully some of this expertise will shine through. You guys can be the judge of that at the end of this. Definitely ask any questions if anything comes up. All right, so as Osea said, we're going to be talking today about the top 5 B2B marketing strategies that we use here at Obility. Again, we work with exclusively B2B companies, so we're definitely excited to share some of these insights. In just a second, we're going to talk about why we decided to talk about this. Then we're going to get into the actual insights. It's probably what you guys are here for. The first two we're going to talk about is just to make sure, we have everything in line to set ourselves up for success. We're going to talk about full visibility tracking, making sure that our campaigns are set up and aligned with our goals so that we hit those goals and make sure that we're constantly progressing. And then we're going to get into talking about betas. And then my favorite part of the presentation is going to be some actual strategies that we've implemented this year. They're just killing it. And we're going to talk about competitor campaigns. And then also breaking some rules, going against the grain, which is kind of scary in the B2B space. A lot of times we're working with big enterprise companies. It is scary to take risks, but as I'll show you, sometimes you got to do it. And taking those risks, going away from what we would traditionally call best practices, can reap rewards. Then at the end, we're going to, of course, hopefully we'll have time for a Q&A. And then lastly, we'll all say goodbye. We'll get back to work because it is Monday. But what that means is that you guys have full 5 days in front of us, or maybe on the East Coast, not full 5 days, but 4.5, to go ahead and hopefully implement at least one of these strategies or takeaways today. So let's go ahead and get in it. Of course, like I said, why are we talking about this? Well, for every single business on this earth, they essentially have to make this decision for our marketing efforts. Are we going to decide, are we going to go with an agency, or are we going to go with an in-house team? And I could present an entire presentation about the benefits of each, because there definitely are, and there's also downsides for each. But a huge benefit of going with an agency, and really what's driving this presentation today, is the shared learnings and the expertise that come with agencies. For example, I manage multiple accounts, so I'm able to take what I learn and what works from one account and use it on another one. And furthermore, I'm able to take, what my coworkers are doing and what's working and use it on my account. where, and on the other hand, in-house marketers, while of course they're still going to learn things and make progression, it's just going to take a little bit longer. So it's going to slow that progression. But today, again, that doesn't really matter, because we're going to share all of our top learnings from this year, and even some insights, some general strategies, and we're just going to really just give it all away. So, Robin Hood here, he's excited. Hopefully you guys are too. We're giving it away. We don't feel we have anything to lose. We're excited. There's so much opportunities out there for B2B companies. And really, the first insight that we're going to talk about is one of those huge opportunities. And it's really an unfortunate opportunity, because it shouldn't be this big of an opportunity, because we should be doing a better job at this, especially in the B2B space. And what I'm talking about is the ability to track long sales cycles. One of the major differences in a B2B strategy is the ability to look at these long sales cycles. As Osea said, we're not just selling shoes. Someone's not coming to our website and we sell them a cool pair of red Nikes either that day or the next few days. We're dealing with weeks, months, even years sometimes, and we're dealing with not just one person, but many different decision makers. And these people are smart. So these schemes that we find, just on general marketing blogs aren't necessarily going to work with these people. So there's some things we need to have in place. The cool thing is, and the great thing is that there's a bunch of cool technologies that are coming out all of the time, and they're coming out at an exponential rate. Right here, what we're looking at is the marketing technology landscape. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this, so bear with me here. But for those of you who haven't, this is all of the marketing technology that's available this year in 2016. So why I'm showing this, I want to point out that, hey, there are some technologies out there and some great ones, like, for example, Visible, which is a solution to what I'm about to show you, how to track that first click all the way to the opportunity getting closed months or years down the line. So if you're looking for a software solution that's already set up, that's a great solution. But what I want to talk about today is how to get this full visibility, but without spending a bunch of money, just a few hours worth of dev work. Just another option for us. And really what this comes down to is matching the front-end data with what we call the back-end data. And I'll talk about back-end data in just a moment, but what I mean by front-end data is the data that's readily available and easy to access within our different platforms and things like Google Analytics. What do I mean by platforms? I mean our platforms like AdWords, Bing, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, any ad platform where we're able to look at it and see how many clicks we're getting, how many impressions, how much are we paying for each click. And of course, most importantly, I shouldn't say most importantly, but how many people are actually filling out a form. But that's where I got to stop right there, because as we know, and if you have this set up, hopefully this isn't the case, and once you get full tracking set up, this won't be the case, but in a lot of cases, the majority of form fills, for a lack of a better word, is going to be crap. And that's why it's so important to figure out what happens after that initial form fill and really see what happens as these leads mature, if they even do. So how do we look at this? Well, that comes down to the back-end data. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about our marketing automation and our CRM data. What do I mean by marketing automation? Of course, that's going to be Marketo, Eloqua, Pardot. And what do I mean by CRM? That's going to be, of course, like Salesforce, which many of you are familiar with, Sugar CRM, HubSpot. Within these platforms, we're going to be able to see these leads mature and see what happens after that initial form fill, because that's what we really need to be able to see to make sure that we're spending money in the right areas. These are where we're going to see these leads mature into marketing qualified leads. We're going to be able to see which marketing qualified leads actually turned into SALs. These are going to be our sales accepted leads. So what number of leads actually went and matured enough to talk to a salesperson. That alone is huge. And which of those actually turned into opportunities worth revenue, and which of them closed. So ultimately what we want to be able to do, and what I'm going to show you how we do it, we need to be able to mesh this front-end data and this back-end data and really be able to see how they're working together. And now I'm not just talking about being able to see how much we spent on the AdWords platform and how much revenue that generated. That's good to know, but we need to get way more granular than that. And this is where I see companies, missing the ball completely, striking out. And so I want to show you why it's so important, and I'll show you a little bit about how we do it. So looking at this data here, this is, going back to that front-end data. This is what we see on the platforms. This is just front-end metrics. What we're seeing here is 5 different campaigns. We're looking at their impressions, how many clicks they're getting, the click-through rate, the cost for each campaign, which is nice to see, and then we're seeing the inquiries. Those are going to be our form fills, how much per form fill, which is our CPA, and then our conversion rate, which is our CVR. The problem with looking at this data, and honestly, some people don't even have this much data, the conversion data is missing, but the problem with looking at this data is, again, we don't know what's happening after the form fill. So really, looking at this data, if this is all that I had, the only real telling information that I can see here is that campaign 4 is driving leads at the best cost and at the lowest cost and at the highest rate, as we can see the 14% conversion rate there. So that's telling, and I'll give this person that hey, we should spend more money here. But everything else is driving right around 15 to 20 leads, and the cost for each lead is right around $100 to $200. So I really don't know if I should shuffle my money around and where to outside of campaign 4. However, if we want to do a little bit better, we're going to do what we talked about on the previous slide. We're going to integrate a little bit of that back-end data. And again, this is at the campaign level, and even more granular, which we'll talk about looking at ads, keywords, but I don't want to spill the beans. But here, what we can see is we're getting a more clear picture. We can see that campaign 1, which is our highest spending campaign, only drove 4 MQLs at a cost of almost $1,000. That is not acceptable for this particular client. On the other hand, we can see, campaigns 3, 4, and 5 are driving MQLs in volume under $200. So that's much more telling. It tells us we need to spend more money on campaign 3, 4, and 5, limit money on campaigns 1 and 2. Now, if you really want to light a match underneath your marketing campaigns and your efforts, you're going to get the full visibility, which is what we're talking about here, getting all of the front-end data and all of the back-end data all the way through the close. So what we can see here, we have the same front-end metrics, impressions, clicks, inquiries, cost per initial inquiry. We have the cost per MQL, but bam, now all of a sudden we have opportunities, and we can see how much each of those opportunities are worth, and now we can completely see that we're not doing that great of a job as far as efficiency for our ad spend. We need to completely flip-flop the way we're spending money here. Based on this data, we can see that campaign 5 is driving the most opportunity, and it's spending the least. Let's spend some more money there and scale that as much as we can. Campaign 1, that is just unacceptable. Let's either pause that or make a change, do some sort of optimizing, whether that be messing with ad copy, probably a bit more aggressive, like changing up the asset or the targeting, though, because something's definitely not working there, and we don't want to spend money in that campaign, until we fix it. So hopefully this opens up our eyes to why this is so important. And so if you're not already doing this, hopefully you can make a case to your team so that you start doing this. And right now, we're going to talk about how we do it. So in order to get this full visibility, to allow for the optimization that we want to ensure constant progression, there's some things that we need to do. And what this really comes down to is adding what we call hidden fields to all of the forms within the landing pages that we're using for all of our paid campaigns. As we know, whenever someone lands on a landing page and fills out a form, they fill out the contact information, their name, last name, email address, phone number, whatever we want, and that once the form is submitted, that then gets passed into the marketing automation platforms and CRMs, and we're able to see what John Doe does after that initial form fill, and watch them mature, which is great. But again, we need to know which campaigns John Doe came from, which keyword he clicked, what ad he clicked, what landing page he clicked on, so we really know what works. As we collect data over time, we're going to be able to really see like which types of ad copy is working, which landing pages are working. Like we talked about on the last slide at kind of a more top level, which campaigns are working. So we at least need to know, at least are able to know, where to spend our ad spend. So in order to get these hidden fields, which as you can see here are highlighted in gray, It comes down to adding a line of code, as I said, to every single form. And this is something that we at Ability have created on our own, but it's something that we love to talk about. And if someone is interested in learning more about this, definitely reach out to us because we'd be more than willing to share our information here. But what you'll need to do is add a code to all of your forms again, and then once this code is entered and once we start getting prospects to land on the landing pages, once, I've got to back up a little bit, excuse me, when it comes to our URLs that we use within our ad campaigns, within our ads, what we need to do is make sure that we append different UTM parameters to the landing page URLs. And a lot of you guys are probably familiar with this. Of course, this is tracking templates. What a UTM parameter is, for example, on this slide, you can see on the URL and the address bar, we're all, of course, familiar with the standard URL like www.site.com/landing page. Everything after the question mark is going to be the parameters, the UTM parameters that we append to our URLs. And this is the information that is all of our campaign information that is inserted into the hidden fields that are picked up with that line of code that I was talking about. So in addition to John Doe's information, we're able to get, hey, this person came from the medium of PPC, so we know they came from a paid ad, came from the UTM source, Google, so we know they came from AdWords. They came from UTM campaign. In this example, it actually says antivirus. And then we can go as granular as we want. Of course, we want to know which ad group it came from, which keyword they actually searched, which region they were from, any data that we want to be able to tie back and put into a pivot table, again, to collect once we have more data. You can put it in there and have those hidden fields pick it up. Something else that we've been able to do, and this is actually really exciting because as most of you know, most websites do get more traffic from organic visits than paid. The problem is that it's really hard to to figure out the ROI that comes with that, the time that goes into all the organic efforts that we do. So in a similar fashion, in order to do this, we have created a similar code of Java that we put into all of the forms that is able to capture the source code that comes along with an organic click on the Google search engine result page. And then similar with the paid advertisements, when someone clicks an organic visit, they land on the landing page, not even necessarily on a landing page, just as they navigate through the website and then fill out a form. As long as that form has the code, it will automatically pick up the source equals Google, and then that information, their contact information, along with the UTM source equals Google, that gets passed into the marketing technology software solution, and we're able to, again, track that as the leads mature for as long as it takes for them to mature. Again, this is a little bit technical. Feel free to reach out to us if anyone has any information. To be honest, this is something that I'm not able to do. It's a little bit above my head, so if you guys have questions, totally understand. However, for a web developer, this is very straightforward. So we can get you the resources, and again, enabling this technology can come at just the cost of potentially 20 minutes of dev work, depending on how clean your forms are set up, maybe a couple of hours. All right, agency insight number 2, I want to talk about campaign methodology. Again, we wouldn't get to where we are today if we didn't do great work, and a big part of where we are today is part of, has to do with our customers being brand ambassadors for us, and they wouldn't do that if we didn't do great work, and we wouldn't be able to do great work if we didn't have a framework that we use that allows us to really scale the success that we see here. And it's something that we suggest if you guys don't have in place that you definitely do. We'll show you how we do it. You can even use this. We'll show you a few examples here in just a minute. So the framework that we use to really structure our campaigns and tell us where to spend money and on which type of campaigns, we use what we call the test almost core optimization plan. This really, again, allows us to bucket our different campaigns and then set a budget for these different campaigns. Before I talk about how we utilize these, I want to explain each briefly. So our test campaigns are going to be, campaigns that are just that. We're testing new waters. We really don't know what to expect, but the hope is that we're going to explore this area, find a gold nugget, an area of opportunity, and then it'll move into a different bucket of campaign, like a core campaign, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Our almost campaigns are, these are going to be lead generation campaigns that do drive leads, and they drive leads in volume, but the problem is here is that the cost per each lead isn't quite where we want it, but we're confident that we can get it to a place. It's just not there yet. So we want to limit spend here a little bit. We probably don't want to maximize, but oftentimes, we are spending money in these areas, because the core campaigns, which are next, which are, our campaigns that drive leads at a great cost, at an acceptable cost. These are areas that we often max out, but the problem is that there is often a ceiling. So, if we have $20,000 to spend, and we can only spend $12,000 on core campaigns, that leaves $8,000 to spend elsewhere. That would be, in cases where we'd expand into some almost campaigns, but I'll show you some specific examples in just a moment. Going away from our lead generation campaigns, because lead generation isn't always the goal. In cases where maybe there's a new company, or maybe an older company has a new product, or maybe a company is wanting to drive awareness for an event. These are cases where we would have awareness campaigns. Again, this is areas where we're not looking for leads. We're looking to really drive traffic to the website, to drive awareness for a variety of things. So our metrics would, of course, change here. We're not going to be looking at cost per lead or anything like that. We're going to be looking at how many visits did we get to the website, how much did we pay for them. More importantly, did they bounce? How long did they stay? How many pages did they visit? We're going to look at the engagement. Another campaign type that we use are what we call pipeline campaigns. These are going to be campaigns where we're not focused on net new leads. These are going to be campaigns that focus on leads that we already have, and we're going to focus on lead velocity. So we're going to be using things like, ABM, retargeting, to really accelerate them through the sales funnel, through the sales process. Maybe, instead of them taking 6 months, that we want to get them down to, a 4-month sales cycle. We would use those types of campaigns. And then lastly, we have our volume campaigns. These are going to be our campaigns that drive leads in volume, but just not at a great cost. But sometimes there's a need for that. For example, if you want to really, fill up that lead database for a few months. And we're not really worried about cost. So I want to give you a few examples of how we would utilize and bucket some of these campaigns based on the different types of goals that we have. Obviously, I think, everyone loves cash money. Sales is a big one, a big goal for a lot of companies. So in the case that we want to drive as many sales, as much revenue as we can, this is the way we would structure our campaigns. We would, of course, maximize the core campaigns. We want to get as many leads as we can at an acceptable rate. Obviously, who wouldn't? Hopefully we could spend all of our ad spend on that. But as I said, there's going to be a ceiling in most cases for our core campaigns, so we're going to have some extra money. And what we're going to do with that extra money is use it on our almost campaigns and our pipeline campaigns. Again, our almost campaigns, it's going to increase our cost per lead a little bit, but we're willing to accept that for a few more leads. And the hope is that with spending money in the pipeline campaigns, that we'll make sure to push them through that process more quickly than we would otherwise. And of course, we want to be spending a little bit, maybe about 10% on test campaigns. And the idea there is that hopefully, again, we can find a win, and then move that, take that learning, that campaign type, whatever we're doing, and all of a sudden it becomes a core strategy, a core campaign, and that, allows us to spend more on our core campaigns. Wouldn't have been able to find that opportunity without spending a little bit of money and taking a little bit of risk on the test campaigns. On the other hand, of course, like I said, a lot of companies want to drive awareness for a variety of reasons. And in these cases, our campaign types definitely change. For example, we would still want to run some core campaigns. However, we would only want to focus on the branded campaigns. The hope here is that we're going to be driving awareness for our brand or something to do with our brand. So people are going to be finding out about us, and then in return, they're going to be going out and searching for us. So we want to make sure that we're present. We also want to have, our branded display campaigns out there, so people are seeing our name and starting to recognize us. And that also goes into, talking about display awareness campaigns. A large portion of this is going to be display. People aren't going to be out searching for something that they don't know about. This is awareness we're talking about. We need to make them aware. So a lot of these campaigns will be display. This is a great way to get in front of a large audience, get clicks for cheaper than search. And I'll talk about a great way to do this here in a few slides when we give away some of our actual campaign types. And then I'd say we give about 10% lastly to high volume campaigns. These are going to be, we're looking for volume here. We want to get traffic to the site. And we'll take a few leads here and there as well, even if we have to pay a little bit more for them, as long as it comes with a decent amount of traffic and awareness, with that higher cost lead. All right. Want to talk a little bit about betas, and we'll talk about one of these betas actually going back to the awareness campaigns, a great way to get on the display network, but I don't want to jump the gun too yet. So some great betas that we've tested here this year at Obility are listed here. I'm going to go into more details on a couple of them, but just to review, a really exciting one that just released within AdWords is the extended text ads. A lot of you may have heard it. Some of you may have not. This allowed us really to get more real estate with our ads, more characters, which has always been a frustration with the AdWords, trying to get that message off that we want, but we can't because we're a character or two above the character count. So frustrating, but now that's less of a problem. Another really cool beta that I recommend a lot of us check out, going back to full visibility tracking, AdWords Salesforce integration just released to the public that allows you to import opportunity data from Salesforce into AdWords. So if you're using Salesforce, which I know a lot of us are, that's another solution in addition to the hidden fields. You're not going to get the full visibility, unfortunately, but at least you'll know that, hey, this drove a conversion, a front-end conversion, and also that opportunity. So that's pretty exciting, and they're definitely going in the right direction. LinkedIn is also going in the right direction. One recent beta that is available to some people, not everyone quite yet, but the LinkedIn one-click autofill. As we know, in order to browse the LinkedIn content, you're going to be signed in. So they've taken advantage of this and allowed someone, whenever they click on an ad, if you choose to utilize this campaign strategy, the prospect can have their form automatically entered with their information. Of course, they can edit it if they want, but that's just making this process one step easier, making that customer journey that much better for these prospects. More exciting, in my opinion, though, on LinkedIn, because it's something that's been forever in the making, is LinkedIn conversion tracking. Of course, you should have backend data in place, which would solve a lot, the problem of the lack of transparency on LinkedIn, because they've never had conversion tracking, which has kind of been a joke in the past. But now they do have it, and it's set up in a way just like AdWords, so it's really easy to do. Just put the code on your site. Actually, it's not like AdWords; it's more like Bing. Excuse me. But you just put the code on your site and then just tell it what URL you want to listen to, and it'll track. That's really great for ad testing. One of the great things about AdWords is the transparency on the front. It allows for quick and easy testing. Now we can do that within LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, I could have a presentation about that on its own, and I almost did include it in this presentation. I just didn't think it was as exciting because I think a lot of people know how great LinkedIn already is for B2B. Maybe in the future, though. Another beta that we'll go into in more detail, and it just released this month, so definitely pay attention. AdWords DSK, little hint, it's called content keywords now, but I'm going to show you some data about that in just a moment, so I won't talk about it too much. But the last beta that I suggest you look at in your own time is AdWords Customer Match if you haven't already. This is a way for us to utilize email lists, hint, CRM lists, and target these people within AdWords in a number of different ways. Or if you really want to get strategic, you can take those email lists that you have. For example, you can take a list of MQLs or SALs or opportunities, give them to AdWords, and tell AdWords to create a lookalike audience based on that audience to allow you to scale that audience, to make it bigger, get in front of more people that are like those individuals. All right, so one of the betas that I want to go into a little bit deeper detail about is the AdWords Expanded Text Ads beta. This was just released. This is huge. This is something that everyone that's on AdWords needs to get on. If you don't know, what they've done is gone from one short headline to 2 headlines, and even the description lines, they've given us more character counts for the description lines as well. Now what I mean by that is on the left here on the phone, the blue guitar on sale. That's the old headline, and then below the black would be the description lines. As you can see on the right, we now have 2 headlines. Now we have shop guitars at Guitar Center, free shipping, easy returns, and then even more characters down low in black. So we definitely took advantage of this, as did some other people. What we did was kind of similar to what we saw there. You know, we definitely, something that we've always done was made sure that we had a relevant headline, and in most cases tried to include the targeted keyword in that headline. So we still attempted to do that as best we could, but what we did differently, because we can now, is that we made sure to include a call to action in the secondary headline. So right at the top, they'd see the first headline, get interested, get hooked because it's relevant to their search query, and then the call to action, second headline, tell them what to do, and then in case that's not enough, you know, we even get a longer description line to entice them further. So what did we see? Well, we're looking at it right here. Click-through rate surprisingly actually went down. Truthfully, we expected it to go up, especially since this is, this is data from early on when a lot of people weren't doing it. But at the end of the day, click-through rate isn't the most important thing. It is nice for quality score. But if you look at the conversion rates, you know, we're going for leads here. You can see that our conversion rate more than doubled. And, you know, we would attribute that mostly to going back to that call to action. You know, we're gathering their attention with that headline 1, and then headline 2, we're telling them what to do, as opposed to just grabbing their attention previously. They click on the ad, and then they get on the landing page, and they might not be ready for, you know, to fill out a form, and then they just bounce. Whereas with that clear call to action with the new ad, they know that, hey, I'm going to get to a landing page, and there's going to be an ebook waiting for me. And I think most people know what to expect when they, you know, when they're about to land on a landing page with the ebook. There's probably going to be a form, even though it might not necessarily be the case, which I'll talk about in just a minute. As I mentioned, awareness campaigns often make up of, at least on AdWords, display campaigns on the Google Display Network. The problem with the Google Display Network, in the past at least, has been that, you know, it's been great for quantity. However, the quality has just been awful, and it was just a battle. You know, we could get a lot of traffic, but we weren't getting very many leads. It was great for awareness. But yeah, we're a lead generation agency. That's what our core competency is. So when this campaign, Display DSK or Display Select Keyword, came out, this was a huge blessing for us. What it really allowed us to do was it kind of automatically layered targeting for us. They targeted people using in-market segments, so rather than just, you know, targeting people who were vaguely interested in some keywords that we targeted. They would only show our ads instead to people who were, again, as I said, in market, or in other words, likely to convert based on Google's algorithm. So it kind of pre-qualified who it showed our ads to. And in addition to that, it only showed our ads, in theory, it only showed our ads on placements or websites that are higher quality. For example, they would only show on websites that would be more likely to rank organically on the Google SERP, whereas previously, you know, a lot of our ads were being shown on web pages that, you know, it wouldn't even be anywhere close to the first few pages on Google, and that's because they're crap websites. So I wouldn't want my ad being shown on a crap website. I want to be shown on a good website, and the Display DSK campaign really allowed us to do that. As you can see here, looking at some of this data, this is from earlier this year. You know, we're spending a decent amount of money on this campaign type, and it drove quite a few MQLs. Now, these aren't just regular form fills. These are qualified leads. And as you can see here, we're even getting some opportunities from these display campaigns. Now, I can't say for sure if these people knew about us or not, but again, these are display campaigns, and oftentimes display is reaching people that don't necessarily know your company. So it's definitely a possibility. And as you can see, we drove quite a bit of revenue here, or opportunity revenue. You know, we definitely, if this were search campaigns, you can see we spent quite a bit of money for not that great of opportunity amount. But given the fact that these are display campaigns, this is a huge win for us, and this is definitely something that we've continued with. And it's absolutely something that we suggest you guys explore. However, you're not going to see it called DSK now, because as I mentioned, it was released earlier this month, 2 weeks ago today actually, on the 10th, and it's now called Content Keywords. So you can go ahead and go out and Google that and learn a little bit more about it. All right, getting into what I think is the most exciting portion of this presentation is some of our actual campaign strategies, what's working for us. What we're going to talk about first is just how campaigns, or excuse me, how competitor campaigns are just killing it for us. And we'll talk a little bit here about why, and then we'll talk about how we're doing it. And really, why it comes down to where these people are at in the funnel. These people are past the awareness stage, they're past the interest stage. They've already, they knew that they had a problem, they've researched this, now they're ready for the solution. So they're going out and they're actually searching for these particular brands. So we're able to show up when these people are out looking and interested in these particular brands, our competitors, and show up. Essentially, we're able to capitalize and take advantage of our competitors' ad spend, their previous marketing efforts, and show up when these prospects are pretty much ready to make their decision. So how do we do this? How do we target them? Well, we use a variety of ways. We of course use search. We use display. Going back to that DSK, the content keywords. We use Gmail, which I'll show you, and surprisingly, social. Social does work in B2B. And it's actually something we need to do a better job of ourselves, or a better job of using more, I should say. I'll show you that in just a moment. But as far as giving more insight away, we've tested a variety of different assets when it comes to competitor targeting, and we found a clear winner. And we definitely suggest that you guys move forward with this as well, because it's pretty much across the board. What we found is that analyst reports convert the best, and I don't think that's any huge surprise. They're non-biased third-party reports. And specifically, what I mean by an analyst report is Gartner, Forrester, and G2 crowd. And even going one step further, we can confidently say the Gartner reports, like Magic Quadrant, perform the best by far. But as you can see, these analyst reports, they convert at 16% compared to what's the next best one, the Buyer's Guide at 8%, and the cost per lead is also by far the lowest. What's also interesting to see here, though, is that we definitely test the bottom of funnel offers like demos and trials, while the cost per lead is more expensive. The value of getting someone on the phone with a salesperson is definitely more valuable than them just downloading an asset. So oftentimes we are willing to accept a higher cost per lead for these types of assets. As I mentioned, social is also killing it for us when it comes to our competitor targeting. And to be honest, we need to do a better job of this, because this is, as an agency, this is some of our data, and what we're finding is that we're doing extremely well, but we're not doing enough of it. And the chances are is that you guys are probably in a similar boat. What we like to do is really, target the followers of our competitors, and you can do that, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And yeah, as you can see, what we're seeing here is that, on Facebook, leads as low as $5. LinkedIn is the most expensive at $84, and I would say that really has to do with, the high CPCs that come with LinkedIn. But yeah, definitely something that we suggest doing. Again, going back to the previous slide, third-party analyst reports would be your go-to, but you definitely want to do some testing. But get on social. Don't be scared. The cost per clicks are really cheap, and there's great targeting, and the targeting is killer. For the tech industry and B2B, is the targeting that's on LinkedIn and social platforms is just, I wish we had it on AdWords for that pre-qualifying factor. The last thing I want to talk about when it comes to competitor targeting is Gmail ads. It's something that I always love doing with all my clients that I'm able to when we have a relevant asset. Email marketing kills it for B2B. It's something that's been around for a while, and I don't see it going anywhere. The problem with it, though, is that you need the person's contact information or email in order to email them. However, Gmail ads allows us to get in people's inboxes when we don't quite have the email yet. And then when we layer that with the competitor targeting, what we found is just extremely low-cost leads. And in addition to that, people actually forward these emails and save them, so kind of become brand ambassadors for us. And you really can't beat that. Before I show you what we're actually doing and how we're doing it, I want to show you some data here that we saw. For these examples I'm about to show you is for our client Sugar CRM. We tested this in the summer, in July, saw some success, scaled it, did some testing, saw even more improvements. As you can see, our costs, we went from just spending $1,000 to almost $4,000 the following month, while dropping our costs in half. Huge win there. So I want to show you how we did it. Again, we love these analyst reports, these third-party Gartner reports. What we did here, we didn't want to get in people's inbox and tell people how great we were, because we knew that these people were interested in our competitors, not necessarily us. In this example, we were targeting people that had Salesforce emails in their inbox. So we want to show them a non-biased ad copy. As you can see, compare top CRM solutions. We don't want to say we're the best. We just want to show up and help you and become your friend. And we also make sure to include Gartner loud and proud. Just in the case that they don't know us, they will know Gartner. Saw huge success with this. But in order to see the improvements that we saw, we needed to do some testing. And that's where we brought in this ad, which again is the third party. We utilized the third-party award here, which was the PC Mag, that awarded us the #1 rated CRM in customer satisfaction. So that's, the customer saying that we're #1, and that was huge. Again, we leveraged that non-biased third-party award. And really, going back to brand ambassadors, our customers are our best marketers, not me. We leveraged that. We said, hey, we're not saying we're #1, our customers are. Click this ad. Read about it, and then get excited and watch the demo. And I'll actually show you the landing page we used in just a moment. So the last insight, and I got to speed up here because I talk too much, we're running out of time, but I want to talk about breaking some B2B rules. We're going to talk a little bit about landing pages here because I think this is really fun, and this is something that a lot of people can utilize today, especially because, as we see here on the left, traditionally, it's always been best practice to have these thin landing pages so people land on it and see what they're getting and quickly convert. However, what we're finding is that people don't really like these anymore, probably because they're onto them. And again, people in the B2B space, especially the tech space, they're smart. They want to learn. They don't just want to land on something and have to give something away in exchange for something that might not be great. So what we tested was instead of the short form landing page on the left, a landing page that looked more like a standard web page, which you can see on the right, that actually has some free content to get these prospects excited. And then when they are ready to convert, there's a call to action in the upper right, and then also at the very bottom, which we actually can't see here. But what we found was that the long form, even though the call to action in the form wasn't front and center, it actually performed much better. So Mr. T knew this, but we didn't. But what we found was that the short form landing page converted at almost $400, while the long form converted at only $150. So significant difference there. Naturally, we move forward with the long form landing page, and even Sugar CRM is testing this on their regular landing pages beyond just paid. And that's a perfect example of taking learnings on paid, utilizing them elsewhere. You can't beat that. Another strategy that I definitely recommend everyone utilizes is, giving away some content. Again, going back to this, get these folks excited about us and then ask them to fill out the form. This is the landing page that we use, going back to that Gmail ad, the PC Mag Customer Satisfaction Award. What we did here, the main asset for this landing page is actually a demo, a recorded demo. But before we want people to fill out the demo, we want them to click on the little link here, which links to the actual PC Mag PDF, which talks about us being #1, allows them to read about us being #1, getting them excited about us, so they want to actually see the platform. And then once they read that, they can then close it. They're still on this page, and then they fill out the form so they can see the demo, see Sugar CRM in action. We've seen huge success there. Definitely scaling this. This is something that we just tested like in the last month. This is cutting edge stuff. All right. So some tweetable learnings here, some takeaways. Again, we all need to do better on social. I know I do. So blow me up on Twitter if you're listening here and want to push this movement. It's Ryan Osmond too. Don't make fun of my tweets. But some tweetable learnings here in the meantime. In the B2B space, full tracking and visibility into campaign performance is a must if you want to ensure growth. If you want to stay, get complacent and get passed up, that's fine. But hashtag full visibility marketing. Second, segment campaigns by performance and delegate budgets accordingly. Hashtag conversions trending up. We do that, we ensure success. To make sure we jump on betas and early releases as much as possible. The early bird gets the conversion. In B2B, targeting competitors is like taking candy from a baby, except the candy is worth thousands of dollars, maybe even hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions. Hashtag, I'll take that qualified lead. And then lastly, B2B can be boring, let's be honest. Stay ahead of the competition by breaking some rules. B2B, or hashtag B2B Maverick. So yeah, that's about it for me. I hope that we have some learnings here. Definitely have some time here. I'm going to let Osea wrap it up here and get our Q&A going. Hopefully we'll have some feedback here. I know if it is anything like a conference, we'll have we'll might take a minute to get one question, but hopefully they'll start rolling. So.
Well, thank you so much, Ryan. That was really insightful. I really appreciate you sharing some of the tactics that have really led to our success. If anybody out there has any questions, looks like we've got a few minutes left where we can do some Q&A. Please speak up. If not, if you'd rather contact us directly, you can definitely contact us. Here's our emails. We're happy to chat. We're happy to talk about anything from tracking to competitor campaigns to the success we've seen. So thank you again, Ryan. Thank you to Bright Talk. Really appreciate everybody's time.
All right, yeah, I'm not seeing any questions in the box here. We'll give it a few more minutes. But again, you see our emails here, me at the top, Osea in the middle there. You can email our general email at abilityb2b.com. Again, if anyone wants to talk about tracking, definitely reach out to us. It's something that, we went to Marketing Nation Summit, Marketo's huge conference in Vegas this year, which is actually pretty crazy, but it was obviously really insightful. And one of my favorite presentations was Heidi Bullocks, the VP of Marketing over at Marketo, actually. And she was talking about marketing technology and just about how lagging all the industries were as far as adoption. And even, in the tech industry, which is just a huge opportunity. It's kind of a bummer that we are so lacking, especially, like I said, in the tech and the B2B, because we need that technology in order to track these long sales cycles. So, if anyone isn't doing it and they're not doing it because they don't know how, that's not a good excuse. So, reach out. I would love to chat. If anyone else wants to have a conversation, like I said, I work way too much. I'm a workaholic. I work this much because I enjoy it, though. Reach out to me, please, if there's any questions. Thank you, and have a great week.